Hello, survivors. So this is the second day of assembly and second day of ARTtech seminars. As I promised yesterday, so today we'll be talking about and starting with careers in games and then moving more into like hardcore topics in hands-on art and tech. So we'll start with Arja Martikainen. She will help us to understand how to get a career in games industry. So let's warmly welcome Arja Martikainen on stage.
Thank you, thank you. All right, good morning or good day to everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I have a lot of time, almost 1 hour ahead of me, but I've heard that this usually takes some 35 minutes or so, but if you have any questions also in between, so please ask. My topic today is games industry career in games. Why not? Why not? My own story goes so that I started in technology in '96, and before that I was running a music festival. And I've been all through my career dealing with people that mix technology and art or handicraft some way, and I found it really like rewarding to myself. And then at some point I was in a very boring tech company working there as an HR, and then I was thinking that, oh, it would be so nice to get back to those people that actually mix art, so like skills of hand and their imaginations to technology. And suddenly I found that I'm in a meeting with Sumea guys. This happened in 2004, and this is how I ended up to games industry eventually. I had a couple of merits in order to get the job. So of course I had been working as an HR for approximately 5 years at that time. Then I had dated a games developer who was somehow gained some fame in America, so he had even a fan club in America to some very dubious game, but it was that time in late 80s. And then in the previous company, I had seen how they are doing the first commercial games for various companies. For example, at that time there was like some ice hockey world championships to which one of our customers wanted a like hockey shooting game, and then there were a couple of skilled people that were able to do that type of things. And of course that was kind of like one of the first touching points to me to see how games are developed. And then I used to study in Joensuu, so I happened to meet Ilari Kuittinen at the university, so this was kind of like my very vague background towards gaming, but I think why Sumea guys hired me, it was because of organization skills, and they simply needed someone to build the company. And as many of you probably know, Sumea became, during the summer 2004, it became Digital Chocolate, and ever since many other companies has been given birth through those Sumea Digital Chocolate people. When I was hiring people in early 2000 to gaming, a lot of questions were like, do you actually get paid? So yes, you can get paid, and sometimes even very well. And now when the industry is more like established, it is becoming more and more usual kind of like way of usual career. So even if the salaries are not yet on the level of general IT, but still the gap is not that big. And then if you end up to a company which kind of like scores in a market, so there are games developers that have done really well. So there was something about my background, how I got into gaming. It was very, very vague how I ended up there, but I kind of like had a hunch that, okay, I need to get there. What else I do, I'm running a site called Games Jobs Finland, which tries to accelerate the employers and candidates to match and to find each other. So it has been growing steadily during the past 3 years. Then what I've been doing also in the past, I've been lecturing, I've been teaching, I've been training supervisors, game supervisors. I'm helping Aalto EE game executive also. I'll try to match people. And then I also mentor younger developers or people that are looking for jobs. And then I also happen to be an investor myself. What I will talk to you today in general. So with the help of Laura, our our coordinator, she has pulled together inquiry which tries to get the trends of the employers and employees, what they are actually looking for, and I just like went and loaned her results there. And then also we are looking at what's hot and what's not in gaming when it comes to roles, or let's say that where there is a lot of like offering and where there is very little offering when it comes to people and candidates. And then finally we get towards how do you prepare yourself and what does it take to get a job in the games industry eventually. And you are of course free to ask. So let's get to kind of like big picture. So of course this event, for example, this is pretty much about entertainment, games and esports and such. But I wanted to open up that there are like also, there are kind of like 3 big legs supporting the Finnish games industry. Entertainment games, casual games, all this that starts from startups, still Supercells, Rovios and these. That's of course a big thing. There are like more than 2,000 people working there. The value of the industry is something 1.5 billion or so. But then there is another big area in Finland that usually we do not talk about and we do not even realize and that it actually belongs to gaming, and it's the gambling slash iGaming. And the biggest name there of course is Veikkaus. Very domestic, but it is there. And then there are also other players that provide games even to world market. And then there are surprisingly a lot of companies that are serving these purposes, and their annual turnover is somewhere around 2 billion, so it's even bigger. But like personnel-wise, I think it's like 1,500 people working there. And then what is very interesting to me is this what has come up lately during the past years is the serious games cluster, or all these gamified apps. And I think that like games industry, especially the entertainment part, where you learn to monetize the crowds and so forth, this has a certain like impact to all this serious games cluster. There is a huge potential. We have very good education background, for example, in Finland, educational background. When you, for example, learn languages, you actually follow some methodologies. Not just like that, okay, we read some Shakespeare poems and that's it, that's how you learn. But it's very scientific how people are studying here, and there is like a lot of like good people in education branch. in Finland in general. So there is one area that is kind of like picking up, and I have very high hopes. And if you think of your everyday life and how the money runs in the world, I'm loaning my Peter Westerpakka now, but it is after you eat, you have done your groceries, then there is of course like quite a lot of money spent to weapons, but one of the biggest areas to spend the money in the world is education. And there are a lot of there is possibility to find global concepts. But it's not only about e-learning, education, but any kind of gamified apps that come. And there is sports, there is, just name it, what can be done in that area. Also that VR, AR, all that type of things that we had just a discussion earlier today, that what kind of things would actually fit to VR, AR, MR, all these areas. And it can actually come more likely from industry needs or education needs than entertainment needs to start with. But that's another story. And then I try to understand what is this esports all about. But I think that it kind of like combines everything from traditional games development till even like betting of the results. So all these areas are present there one way or another. Okay, so now I'm loaning Laura, who is listening here. So trends in games roles. Of course, we knew quite a bit about it because we are recruiting people all the time and looking at or trying to estimate to our customers that how easy or how difficult it is to find the people. And the truth is that if there is a search for an artist, usually there is one place, one position in a company, and then there are like 70 people applying for it, for example. And then what I've noticed also that there is always a handful of people in the market at the time who are actually like asked to practically all of those interviews and testing. So they roll around all these companies that happen to be looking for an artist at that time. So it is very hard and very competitive area. So you need to be a real talent and really persistent in getting a job in art. Unless you are an animator or a technical artist that can combine technical skills, do even bits of programming and such to an art. So that is very sought after. They are very sought after profiles. Sound design and composing. I don't know how many CVs and messages of sound designers in my mailbox. And the truth is that there are only few open positions in the companies altogether during the year, maybe one or two. But that leads to the fact that many sound designers have started to build their careers also outside of Finland. And they have kind of like thought that, okay, this is it, I'm not even trying. But then there are people that have done beautiful careers serving some other customers all around the world. So the freelancing is pretty much one of only those areas where you can actually succeed. And then it also needs quite a bit of like capability to create relationships and deliver and so forth. User support, there's quite a lot of offering, and managers, all sorts of leaders, but this is also that like very often I see like candidates coming from different industries that think that, okay, I can become a producer in games, I can run a project, but it's not that. You need to have some basis how you end up, because producer's role, it is to imagine the end result. Games are anyway, they are work of art, you need to be able to explain and understand what is it, what are you looking after. So there is like this holy triangle of designer, producer and product manager that guard the end result, and the rest do the work with them. Then yeah, less candidates than jobs, area analysts, anything that has to do with big data. So analysts are, this is something that every now and then there comes a moment in the industry when something new comes up. And then there are people that haven't, for example, realized that I actually could work as an analyst. And now there has been a lot of attempts to try to find those people that could crash down numbers. And we have, for example, tried to reach for people that have been studying like mathematics in the university, at that type of thing, and then actually telling them that, hey, you could really work in games. And I've seen many, actually even PhD level people coming straight from universities to work in games. Then, of course, good marketers, community managers, even salespeople are very much sought after. Programmers, network admins, like programmers, everlasting pain. If somebody hears that there is a good programmer available, probably they will be hired within days than within weeks. And anybody who can understand anything of cloud computing or dealing in between R&D and networks, so they are good profiles. Sometimes you need to master both Microsoft and then Linux and so forth. And UI, user interfaces and such, like not very sexy, but if you are a UI artist or UI programmer, you have always a box in the organization chart in a company. They are very much sought after, even if it doesn't look like that. But those that want to dedicate to UI, there is jobs in that area. Okay, then I think I've done this a long time ago, like what do we think that the candidates are looking for, or what the companies think that the candidates are looking for. And there's like a lot of these things that are listed here, starting from money till great founder, team and culture. There are many things that actually they change during your career. When you are a young rookie looking for your first job, so I think that then the question is pretty much that how do I get in? How do I get my foot into some company and get started? That's the most important thing. Then you do not even think of money that much or title or rank, just to get in. But the more developed person you are, like the length of your career starts to show also interest to these other things. So later on you start to think that, am I rewarded correctly? Do I get paid enough? How do I proceed? Do I have future in this company? What do I actually want to do with my career in a long run? Am I a specialist? Do I want to go for managerial roles? Do you want to become a startup entrepreneur or go to some team that is setting up a startup? And then location, premises, promises. Of course, it's nice to have a good, nice office environment and a nice team around you. And lately, there has been quite a bit of talks about this culture, how to create a culture in a team. And some companies, they underline the value of culture quite a bit. But I would say that in a busy startup company, busy life, trying to push something done out, it's actually quite hard to create some culture. But you can name many things as a culture. But then what was there as a top 10 in the candidate list and then as a top 10 in the employer list? First, candidates, meaningful job, of course, work community and location. I think this was quite a bit of a surprise. Then the employers, what they think, how do they want to engage their current and possible future employees. So, of course, they talk about the projects. Then, surprisingly, opportunity to work from home. And then supporting the meaningfulness of the job. This is what the employers replied. I tried to combine these and think if there is a match. So are these very much apart? And of course, meaningful job. That's important for both parties in top 3 there. And then what candidates also underlined was the working community. Yes, it's very, very basic, very natural people want to belong to something. And of course, if you have good people around you, so then it's much nicer to work and then of course possibly succeed. And then you get like good like memories of the whole thing. And this location is interesting to me. Yeah, of course, I appreciate the situation if I live close to my working place so that I can get there quickly. I'm hopeless in the mornings. I like to read my newspaper and then get quickly on my way. That's nice. And then, of course, like I've been speaking with many foreign candidates who, for example, pendle for 1.5 hours or even longer in the big cities like London or Moscow, so forth. So location is, of course, a good thing. And what I've noticed that all those companies located in the center of Helsinki are usually the most wanted. So anywhere where there is a good commuting system, or like it's easy to get, that's nice. And then also what I've noticed, which is quite fashionable at the moment, especially within startups, is that if you have a nice office space in a small, in an older Helsinki city building with own sauna, so that seems to be nice. Yeah, there are these like kind of like heritage offices in the Helsinki center, so where they tell that okay, these guys were here before, but then they grew a little bit, and then they moved to this other place, and so forth. So heritage offices, that's nice. And the employer, yes, of course, projects. I always tell that okay, you need to like talk to the candidates. What are you doing? And even if the candidates like do not necessarily realize, but I always ask them that hey, or like I look at the portfolios, for example, when a person comes that. Okay, is there any match to this company where they are applying to? And I try to explain to people that, hey, in order to make your life at least a bit easier, it is better to do something that you really like. So that you do not go to work to a company which is doing some dark stuff when you like some candy-colored stuff. So sometimes it happens, but usually people are do better if the projects are what they like. And then it's also important that the employers tell honestly how they work and how they run the projects and the project work in general. Because it's good to simulate the actual work, and that's how we were when I was hiring in the previous companies. So we did a lot of the simulation tasks so that the employees or like candidates were able to figure out that what is it actually like, how is it to do this type of project work. Candidates were even doing those simulation tasks with their possible future colleagues and so. And this is very much like done nowadays too. And then employer side, this was quite surprising results, like opportunity to work from home. But yeah, it looks like that employers are finally thinking a little bit about this opportunity to like occasionally to work from home. That creates flexibility, especially if you start to have kids and you are maybe a bit sick sometimes, but you can still do something. One thing, it's like that it's not that you can all the way work from home because it starts to become a bit dubious if the candidate wants to solely to work from home. So then usually there is something wrong with the communication or so. So then unless you are like solely doing projects here and there as a freelancer, so that's kind of like the only option. All right, and we spoke about the meaningfulness already. Then I loan my former colleague Ilkka Paananen. Supercell has been talking about the culture a lot and how they build their teams. So he has stated once in a magazine that they appreciate the compatibility and the capability to communicate. That's a big thing for them. And then they try to build kind of like a sports team, the best team, and that team attracts the best people. Product comes after the team. But this type of thinking comes only when you are on a certain level, when you have already established like concepts and then and also like candidate pool that is thinking themselves and then also like a little bit advanced candidate pool. Okay. How many of you have applied to a games company? Are you all? I know some of you have you work. How many are working in a gaming company? Yes, okay. So there's majority of those that haven't tried yet or do not work in a games company. So this was just like something very superficial, but very basic. You can apply this to pretty much anything. Always, it looks so much nicer if you have put some minute or an hour to prepare your CV. I hate those CVs that are copy-pasted from LinkedIn or something like that. So, and then that are thrown all over. And then portfolio or GitHub or other link where you have your work samples. Extremely important in games. Some companies do not even receive your CVs if you do not have. Anybody who is thinking of creative work has to have something to show. This is important. And especially when headhunters are browsing all these services where there are portfolios, yes, of course, if I see something that we think that, okay, this is really wow. So then there is always a better opportunity that you will be found. And talent is something that you can be found even if you do not have any working experience. But if you have done games as a hobby or at school or so forth, so experienced art directors, for example, they can spot the people that have the eye. I do not have that much eye, but I've learned during the years at least to kind of position like where the candidate stands. I can basically see if it's totally crap or if it's awesome, but anything in between is a bit blurred to me. And then if you manage to get the interview, your time and the employers or recruiters' time is valuable. So it is good to look at the company and do a bit of pre-screening and also look at the products. Very often I take a call if I see CV and give a call to the candidate and ask like, all right, what's the reason why you applied to this position? Just I ask something really simple things. And the worst reply to me is always that, can you repeat which company you are talking about? Which position was it to which I applied to? And I was like, hello. Then I kind of like, okay, maybe he didn't hear or she didn't hear me properly. So I repeat, so this is this and this company, you applied to this and this position. Can you tell me more about this? And then I'm like, oh gosh, it's like, how can I, very often employers, they actually ask me, how did they sound in a phone and what was the first impression? I simply can't like push forward people that like do not have a clue where they are applying to. So it happens. And I know that in some countries it's more or less like the recruiters call to you. You do not need to care about the job announcements. But in Finland still, it's also good to browse the job announcements and really check where you are applying to. And then when you get to the office or wherever you are meeting, it's also good to like try to experience, like feel like what is the look and feel? How did it go? How's the handshake? Do you look in the eye? Because the employers are doing exactly the same. I was once applying to a PR job in a public instance here in the center of Helsinki, one of the biggest conference centers of that time. And I got the job. It was a summer job. And then the recruiter told me that she was looking at how do I walk. So if I would have been sloppy and a bit like this, she probably wouldn't have hired me. But it also like how you present yourself. You can be a little bit like shy or something, but at least if you put yourself together and walk there and present yourself, that's a good start. And then I always try to make the candidates like relax somehow. I try to find what's the best of them. And then also like try to get them to reply to my questions. The good thing is that if you speak a bit more than the employer is or the interviewer is, that's good. But then there are sometimes these guys that start vomiting everything what they know to myself, and then I'm sitting there for 10 minutes and like, okay, does he end this or do I end it? So I was like thinking that, okay, is this person going to behave like this all through the career, so there's only one opinion, his or hers? Or is this person able to receive some feedback? It's good to stick to the issue also and be truthful, tell the truth. And then also it's good to sell yourself, because eventually the questions are like, why should we hire you? What is so interesting in this position? Why did you apply? It's good to be prepared to these. And you're maybe not the best candidate, but you can be the fitting candidate. So sometimes the best candidate can be kind of like someone who is so prima donna that the team can't even think of this person, because they will mix the whole system. But you can be the fitting candidate, and that you have enough skills. You fit to the company, to the culture, and you can do the job. So. And then, is there anything else that you can do in gaming? This is pretty much like similar thing than applying to big symphony orchestra or to a rock band. You need to have passion and need to show some dedication towards gaming. And that's what they are looking at when the employers look to your eyes and think that would you be a fitting candidate. They are looking for this thing, in Finnish it's called into, or like passion, or some sort of like, really, I want to do this. So if you have been a serious games like hobbyist, done your stuff, so even a newbie can find a job if you can somehow convince that, yes, I really want to do this. There is a whole story about this at the gamesjobs.fi, my old blog, where I put down many things that I thought that I learned observing people over the years, and you can read it there. Yeah, portfolio, learn, seek for help, make relationships, go to IGDA, go to assembly, all these events, and then think where you want to work. This ability to work under pressure and cope with uncertainty. Pressure is always present when you are trying to deliver something that makes money, so that your salaries are paid. And then uncertainty is always present, even in a bigger companies, but especially if you are working in a startup. But the nice thing is that if you do your work well, if you develop yourself, there is usually always a new opportunity for you. Games industry is still growing. There are new jobs and new companies created all the time. But you need to be serious. Then I want to advertise a little bit our own service. Here are some companies that have joined us most recently. So Games Jobs Finland is trying to put together bigger companies, also startups. And we are, of course, there in the market with the help of our supporters, Neo Games and IGDA, and also like we are kind of part of the ecosystem. And our idea is to be there for the big and small. The big ones, they bring their names. They drive the candidates to the site, but also the small companies, they can benefit of this candidate floods. So last year we had some 25,000 single visitors in Games Jobs Finland. And I've noticed that if there are some really interesting new openings, for example, AR, VR, AR, whatever, there is like really new exciting startups, they can even find new candidates in a week. But then certain companies that have like higher expectations also for their candidates, so it can last really long time. But this is pretty much all I have in mind. So Sonia has this device there. So if anyone has questions, so please do. And the one who shoots the first question, we have rewards. So, and you can of course come to talk to me later.
But yeah, so we have, because ARTtech Seminar is sponsored this year by Remedy, so there are Remedy treats. So any questions? Asking questions?
Just because of getting some Remedy treats, it's worthwhile asking something, even what's the temperature at the moment? No, Ville.
All right. Since nobody else is asking, I'm asking. What's the worst CV you've ever received?
I don't know. I've seen thousands of those. No, of course, those that like haven't invested any time to their CV. But I can also see, I've seen also some CVs done even with Notepad. But there has been certain thinking behind it, so they have been well structured, I would say. And then this, and now I actually saw a CV just like actually this week. I asked the candidate that, what is this all about? I got your CV, but there is another person's name, and then the someone who had been doing like done something to the CV was an agent in Britain. And I was asking that, has this agent in Britain given you this layout or what's going on here? And did you notice that there is somebody else's name there? I was like, is this a hoax or what is going on here? That was quite bad. Bit precise, yes. What did he say? He told me like he hasn't actually even noticed. It was really funny. It was so interesting situation, and then I spoke with him a little bit, and then I was thinking, okay, maybe I do not call to my customer about it. So he was between jobs. Okay.
How much time do you spend on one candidate when you're looking for them for a job, when you're reading the CV, when you're doing the interviews? How much time do you use on them?
Time.
Time, yes.
Yes. No, it depends. We have, of course, developed some tools inside Barona, but I have some tagging system that I'm hoping that candidates use. That helps to accelerate, at least like to pinpoint those that have the actual technologies, for example, what we are looking for. But basically, when I open a CV, I run it through like this. So I can quite quickly see what's going on there. And I have such a like long history memory since I've been working in technology since '96. So I pretty much know what's the story of each candidate, like if they have been working, for example, here or there. So, okay, around that time, if he or she lost her job, so then, okay, they cut down like 50% of their workforce at that time. So that's why it's good to be also truthful in the interviews, because usually the agents or recruiters know what's going on there behind. But it's quite quick. The pre-screening is very quick. It can be minutes or a minute or 30 seconds or whatever. But then sometimes I really need to figure out like what is this all about, and then sometimes there comes these new technologies that I do not even understand, all these three-letter abbreviations. And sometimes I realize that, okay, this person doesn't actually has been doing this or that, but doesn't have any specific. And to Ville, I think that those worst CVs, what I've seen, are those that collect pretty much everything that they have seen in their technology books or whatever, because that kind of like makes it makes you doubt that this person doesn't know a thing. One experienced team leader once told that if the person cannot list the core competence like to maximum 5 lines, they do not know a thing. That he was really rough on it, but you have to be able to explain your basics.
Which openings do you get flooded with applications?
Art.
And what's the volume?
Well, depends, but I've been seeing like 100 CVs per one role. Usually it's 50 to 70 per one role. And then sometimes I was searching for a digital manager, one of these new jobs like that came up. It was a couple of years back. I got 140. But this happens sometimes when there is no real like there is no job history, or there is no like understanding what you need to be able to do in this or that. All these new roles, like now people are talking about digitalization. So it's kind of like lottery. It's like what kind of person ends up working there And but this is also a fun thing because there are people with so many backgrounds that you can actually think of like more widely, bit out of the box, that who can actually do the job. And usually when there are new roles, new jobs, new areas, it takes 2 to 3, I call them generations of employees that go through the cycle before employer even exactly knows what is needed in this role. I do not hear you. Less?
Popular.
Least popular ones. I could name some companies in Helsinki games scene that are so demanding that like I don't know what to do. Should I like what to do to serve them? So we are basically looking for a needle in a haystack. So. And it's sometimes like I doubt that some employers even do not understand themselves what they are looking for. They are looking for something specific. And we may go through half of Europe developers and we may find the people that would be fitting, but then they are not interested in for some reason. But what I mentioned, like analytics, animators, all these certain type of developers, they are the most sought after.
It seems like that, well, all the questions. So just to show off the treats. So those who ask questions, come to see me at the corner and you can pick basically Xbox One or PC Quantum Break. Thank you, Arja.
Thanks.